Hi, Bill.
Morning, David. How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Good.
You're here for your private lesson today?
Oh, is this my private lesson?
Well, I believe so. Bill has a doctor's appointment. Adam wrote me that he could not be um, available today, and I think Joanne is still out of town. So,
Wow, wow. Well, wonderful.
so um, I will be very interested in whatever your major personal needs are today.
My major personal needs. Wow, that's a sweeping that's a sweeping
Personal
offer.
Tai Chi needs.
Oh, Tai Chi needs. I can't go to broader things.
I,
Well, good.
I
Well,
haven't
good.
enough time for the rest.
Well, I've been working on the rest for a lifetime, and it doesn't seem to be the 100% effective.
Well,
So,
I don't think it ever ends.
no, I don't. I think that's the nature of the of the trip.
The beast.
Right, right, right. Well, I will say, well, this is good. I think different and good also. So, but
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to schedule separately. You can just do it this way. But,
yeah, I've always wanted to do that and have never. I don't know. Our lives are just so busy
yeah,
that I there are a lot of things I want to do and maybe ought to do, but never happen, and,
there
and
are
that would
only
be
so
one
many
of
hours in the day.
them. Yeah, yeah. Well, and also, I think my energy level has changed remarkably.
Oh, you noticed that too.
And there may be more to come. I'm sure you can tell me about that.
There may be more to come.
But I will say I had one dramatic breakthrough with my back issues.
Uh-huh.
And Madeline, for many years, has told the story of her father when he was probably in his 50s, uh, getting ready to go in for some kind of back fusion, spinal fusion surgery,
Yep.
and saw his regular doctor who said, "Well, Tony, why don't you just try one thing before you do that? Put a lift in your shoe."
Aha.
And he did that, and he didn't go to the surgery, and he was doing his from his back point of view, he was doing fine. So Madeline tells that story. She uses a lift in one of her shoes. She's not doing 100% fine, but she, gets around fine.
Yeah.
And I had kind of eschewed that. I actually at one point had a chiropractor do the whole that thing that they do with your feet and give you a whole thing
Yep.
that fits in your whole shoe, which I found which was expensive and uncomfortable. And even though I tried it for a few weeks, never got used to it and never seemed to do anything positive. But I now, I had been having a hard time off and on with this back issue. And we've been going to chiropractor. Well, we do go to chiropractor twice a month for adjustments and stuff. Uh, but I got this thing,
Uh-huh.
which is this skinny little lift, put
Yep.
it in the shoe on the opposite side of where my sacroiliac nerve is most painful. And I haven't had an episode since. It's been 17 days now
Whoa.
with that. So, so I'm a believer, and I've been able to do things that I could do before, like carry a wheelbarrow full of wood chips from one place to another. But I would do that and I'd measure myself out and I'd do like 3 loads and then I'd rest and,
Yeah.
uh, well, the other day I started doing it and I did enough that I got this shoulder and neck soreness that you get when you overwork a little bit. The first time I've experienced that in probably 5 or 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Worked enough that my muscles got sore from working without my back whacking out. So that's my adjusting thing, and it has improved my Tai Chi practice. To get back to our point, it's improved my Tai Chi practice a lot because I'm not like, you know, as much as the C curve, I think, has helped that whole, whatever it is, 2, 3, 4, 5
Uh-huh.
place. This has seemingly sort of a permanent, or at least a lasting um, change in the way I'm lined up. It's less than a quarter of, like a quarter of an inch or so.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. So I feel like I should open a little place outside of my chiropractor's office and give people these shoe lifts.
Well, I have the fancy, expensive ones from the chiropractor, and they really helped me.
They did, yeah.
So,
I've heard that from a number of people, actually.
yeah, yeah. So, but whatever works.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Not to poo-poo anything that
Yeah,
takes away the pain.
right.
um, so, well, let me officially start us here.
Good.
So, there's some specific questions that you have, perhaps, about places in this practice that are giving you difficulty, or?
Yeah, well, there are two things that I've been that I sort of zero in on that's come to my fore as I've practiced a little more regularly this week than I had before this shoe lift.
Yeah.
One is being sure that I've got the twisting out and twisting in right, or thinking about it correctly, and whether the thumb and or pinky are leading. Really going through all the postures, just to think of it. As long as we're just me and you, I would get more specific if it was everybody here. And the transitions out of 3 from 3 to 4. I'm not in quite the right place that I make a smooth transition. It's anyhow, transitions, I will say, broadly, and getting those smoother. Those are two things.
Okay, that's good. So, would you like to go through the movements?
Yeah.
And just be specific about the twisting?
Yeah, and yeah, I would, and that's. Could I sort of do some of it, and
Sure.
you could comment on
it? Who, me?
And I don't know if I'm on my iPad, so this isn't going to be as good. But, you can. I don't know if it's worth spending the time to switch devices. But.
That's all right. Can you tilt it down a little? Oh, well, that's not too bad. That's.
Yeah, let me do one more little click here.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay. So for one, you pointed out last week we start down and then
So what went out?
so what went out was my thumb was coming up, so I'm more out
Uh-huh.
this way, and then going down, I'm coming in with the pinky.
Nope, you don't switch
You
edges.
don't.
No.
Okay. Well then, okay. Well then, that's a question. So, if I'm coming out, to exaggerate it, if I'm coming out,
Yep. And then
then
it's coming.
coming in is going this way. So when you're at the bottom, your palms are slightly out.
Yep. And that's what you do at the very beginning when you first start. The first movement is to twist the thumbs inward and
Okay.
bend the arms a little so that you can
So you
twist
can
the thumbs out and
out.
extend
Okay.
the arms as you come up. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Uh-huh.
and that the coming in starts right as you start down, right?
Yeah, it starts as soon as the hands go up. Remember, you're sending that
Yeah.
energy up, and then they start coming in as you go down. You're making that curve back towards the body and down.
Right. Okay. That I think I was doing that pretty close to right, but that gives me a little edge on thinking about it. Then for two, the transition to that is pretty easy because your arms are already almost in the right place. So, but I'm squatting and folding and squatting and bringing everything in.
Uh-huh, watch edge.
So I'm bringing in the pinky edge
Uh-huh.
coming in, and then as you start expanding out, the
So
pinky
that's
edge
what
is
I
going
was
out.
talking to you about last week, is that the arms, after you have connected the wrists at the dantian, that they start coming out as they come up, maintaining that wrist connection
Okay.
until the energy reaches um, at well at least the center of the chest, ideally eventually the top of the head, before you separate the arms and go out.
Okay. So I'm twisting out, coming up, and then start separating.
Yep, good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then from here to get to 3, I'm just coming up to here. Is it?
Well, we're gonna, if we get to it, that's one of the things I'm gonna talk about today is that transition
Okay,
from 2 to 3. What we've been doing is coming up to 12 and then going to 3.
yes.
So that's the pattern we've been using.
Okay. So should I just sort of skip on to 3 to 4 and then we can come back to the 3?
Yeah, because I'll come back to this.
Okay. So 3, if let's just say that I've come up here. So at this point, I have the C curve, so I'm not extended up. Now, if I was going to continue doing it, I would keep on going in and in and in and then stretch there. But so here, if I want to go from 3 to 4,
Right.
I'm already in. So, but my hands are supposed to be a little higher for. So do you just bring your hands up and then start going?
So, when you get, let me make me a little larger here for a minute. So, when you come in to 12, you're going to continue coming in as you go down. And then you're going to go out and up. And you're following the pinky edge.
Okay. Okay, that makes sense. And you have room to do that because you're not all the way in. Because if you were continuing with 3, you're still going in until you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But it is an extended. It becomes certainly an extended inhale. At that point, there is probably a longer inhale than you have done. Well, not than you've done previously, because in 3 you just did a long inhale. So it's maintaining that long inhale.
Right. It may be. Okay.
And then it evens out.
Okay, then 3 to 4 is fine, I think, because you're already down here, and then you're just.
So the issue, of course, with 5 is that it's not 2.
Right. Yeah. And I think so. I've just got the C curve, and then it comes. It's on up.
So
So you're
really,
still coming in as you're.
when you think about doing that transition from 4 to 5, so when you've gotten up to this point in 4 and you're ready to go to 5, one of the things is to be aware of that you're actually in this transition. The next thing you have to do is begin to condense, and so the movement here gets smaller, because you remember you're not doing the full 70%. You're condensing your movement and doing 70% of 70%, if you will.
Okay.
Whatever that may be. So this movement, you don't want to use everything up, because as you come down to here, you have to continue that inward movement as you come back up.
Okay.
So that's the difficulty in that transition. And you could play that. I think that you also, one of the things you can do is just do that inhale of 4 down and then condense and come up. But that, to me, that's harder, because you don't have the time to really be aware of condensing. So I think it's really helpful to really give yourself the time to feel that real inward movement of the condensing, and then begin 5 with its somewhat smaller movements. And you have to find where is that transition point when the energy has gotten clear up as high as it's going to go, and then can go out into the side channels and down the side channels to the Kwa as far as it's going to go, and then into the Dantian and up the central channel, and then out and down the side channels, then into the center. So little finger edge twisting in, little finger edge twisting out.
Okay. That's real good. Yeah. Thank you. And then for 6, I don't get much energetically in 6, and which seems like it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be the central channel where it's like the culmination. But I'm not experiencing 6 very well at all.
Okay.
Energetically,
Huh. That's interesting. Why don't you do a little bit of 5 and go into 6 and let me see what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay, so I would say a couple of things there that might help. One thing I would say is, I don't know if you have remember or not, but I talked early on about the fact that the movements of 2 are here, 4 is here, 5 is here, and 6 is here.
Yes.
And I'm feeling like 6 is still out here somewhere.
Okay.
And that may be,
Yeah.
I think that could be an element.
Okay.
I think that when you make that transition from 5 to 6, you want to make sure you come clear in to connecting the wrists, and then with that little circular movement, begin to go out to your etheric body. So feel that, and then continue up. And there, even though the bodily movement is small now, smaller than it was, it has to continue all the way through. And what I sort of felt was that there was some downward movement, but the up kind of completed and then the arms moved on their own. And when that happens, you're not going to get as effective energy movement.
Okay.
I don't know whether that's accurate. A little hard for me to tell on Zoom.
Yeah. I think that is accurate, and that's a challenge throughout, is getting every component going gradually, rather than getting to an extreme.
Yep.
For a while it was the twisting. I'd twist all the way out and then have nowhere to go. They keep
Yeah.
on. Yeah, and yeah, but I think what you thought you observed is indeed what I'm feeling. But just you showing that and talking about the etheric body, I think I have a better way to work on those.
Yeah.
Good.
When you get to that point of connecting those wrist points, do you feel that energetically?
I do, yeah.
Okay.
That is one thing that I do feel pretty consistently.
Good.
And I feel that initial one, as I go on in, I feel it less. But the first one is really palpable when I connect here. As I come on up, I lose
Oh,
that
you mean
feeling
as
a
you
little
come
bit.
up the body?
Yes.
Well, part of that is that your focus is really on the central channel, not on what's happening in the arms.
Right.
So it's good that you're getting the connection there, but it's not the connection that you're raising, it's the energy in the central channel you're raising.
Right. And I get that sometimes, but I'm not quite releasing to feel that.
Yeah.
That I'm getting indications, I guess, but I'm not.
Well, yeah, it sounds like you're making progress, but it's just a matter of really continuing to develop the coordination of all the pieces. And that's hard. Bill, I'm not belittling that at all. It ain't easy.
Well, it's not easy, but when it's the best is when the breathing is well coordinated, which.
Yep.
So.
Do you have any questions about the breathing, since you mentioned that?
No, I lapse into reversing the breathing, but I've gotten better with not doing that so much. But it's hard to identify when that happened, and then all of a sudden you realize your breathing is reversed. And,
Well,
I think oddly enough, in 3, with that extra long inhale going across and then the short exhale, that really has helped the breathing pattern, I think, through the whole thing.
Oh, good.
It's only been a couple of weeks that we've been talking about, or at least that I've tuned into how long we're waiting before we do the expansion and stretch and exhale.
Yeah. So I think because it's fairly short, I'm going to just send the beginning of the notes is a short talk about too much and too little, obviously related somewhat to the 70% rule, but I'll give you a little more detail about that. So I'll just let all of you who hopefully are watching this, I'll send that to you and you can go through that, because it's got some good thoughts there. But what I really wanted to do is to really go back to movement 3 and a couple of things. That while I've given you the new, better way to do movement 3, that does not mean that the other way is incorrect. It is an alternative, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But we have basically the two ways are, of course, that we can inhale to 12, exhale to 3, inhale to 6, exhale to 9, inhale back to 12, which is how we started. And now we've been working on inhaling all the way to 3 and exhaling as we extend, and then inhaling all the way through 6 to 9 and exhaling, and so on. So just to be clear about that, because actually there's the better way of doing it is, of course, to keep the bending and the inhaling going through 12 and 6 and just straightening and extending as you arrive at 3 and 9. So that way requires more breath. It requires that your ability to go inside yourself is much, much stronger. And if that's weaker, don't try to do it. Too much and too little. If you try the second method and run out of breath or run out of bending or straightening, you've done too much. And then you should change and do the first method. So what I'd like you to do is to stand up and do a couple of movements of 2, and then feel when you go into 3 which method you want to do. Not think about it. Feel which one is right for you at this moment today. And you could do one and then do the other if you're not sure. But see if you can feel that one way feels like it would be better to do than the other. so pause a moment and just tell me what you're experiencing.
Well, I did going in the first direction. I did it the method 2, I guess you'd call it, the longer
Yeah.
inhale. And because I was doing it maybe a little bit more slowly than I typically do, that was forced. The inhale was forced.
Uh-huh.
I had to keep inhaling when I didn't really need to inhale anymore. And then when I reversed directions, I went back to method 1, which at that pace felt more comfortable. But I find that confuses when I start stretching out a little bit. And I don't know if method 1 means that you start expanding as you're exhaling.
No.
I didn't think so. But that was what my breath was kind of telling me to do. So I was, I was starting to expand, at
Yeah.
130 or whatever, rather than getting on down to close to 3. But I could adjust that, and so I guess for me, the pace, which dictates the length of the inhale. I think method 2 works better energetically than method 1 for the breathing for me. But at least right now, my breathing, I need a little quicker pace to make that effective.
Uh-huh. Well, I think that's a good thing to be aware of. You want to try to continue to slow your breathing down. The ideal is to, of course, is to allow it to really slow, not eventually, and not to be doing it quickly. And indeed, either method, the extension at 3 and 9 is really the same in terms of the physical movement. It happens after you arrive there. So, and I think one of the things that's hard with this is that whatever method you're doing, is you get to this point and you want to extend your arms, but it ain't what you're doing.
Right.
Because hopefully in either method you have rounded the back, you have bent everything, you have lengthened in, so that this movement becomes an extension. And my arms go out a little, but they're not doing this. The movement is all coming through the connection of the elbows to the scapula and the spine. And so it's the scapula expanding and opening that energetic connection, and the spine straightening, and then it bends again, going to the. So I think that's one of the things to be aware of there, certainly.
Yeah. I think that and the lesson of maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, where you emphasized that and how we were using our thing about the elbows at first, was the first thing you talked about coming out to do the expansion. Really changed 3, and one of the many morphs of 3 that's happened since the very beginning. One detail with that So that, as you're doing that expansion, that's also when on the weighted foot, your weight shift goes towards the front of the foot as that expansion happens too, right?
Um,
Having, your weight on one foot and doing the shift from the front to the back, feeling.
what's interesting is that actually your weight is on the heel on that expansion,
No, is it? Okay.
because the weight of your other foot is on the toe. Because the energy is coming up from that other leg, and it's going in terms of the legs here, and it's going down and out of your supporting leg.
Ah,
So the weight is towards the heel on that supporting leg, and the empty or light leg is towards the toe.
oh, oh, okay. Well, that's a complete surprise.
So remember that um, Yongchuan, the bubbling well, is principally functions primarily to encourage the rising energy in the body. And Shimian at the heel is actually the one where we drop energy into the earth. And so that expansion, of course, is sending energy out. And it's not only going out the arms, it's going out the top of the head, and it's going out the bottom of the foot.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's helpful and revealing, because doing that we did that pulsing exercise,
Yep.
and when I focus on that and really get in all the other postures, as you go weighted towards the heel or towards the front, if I get all of that going right, that pulsing thing really happens with some power that I can feel, in my legs and feet, as well as in my arms and hand,
Great.
and really throughout, which is, I'm not saying I get that all the time, but when I get it going, there's a little groove in there that when it works, it's really nice.
Yep.
And the shifting of the weight in the foot really is a very important component.
Yes.
Everything is important, but
Yeah. That's the
but that really helps make
So-
it happen. Yeah.
So good. So that feels like that may help you to improve in there.
Yeah.
Let's see. So one of the things about this is not to get stuck on the idea that 3 has to be done in one way. It has to be done in the way that's right for you at the moment you're doing it. So it doesn't have to be exactly uniform, because God's is not about uniformity. It's about whether or not your body's ability to take energy into it to get the inward lengthening and the outward lengthening that you need. And it allows you to do it without being too much or too little. I'll let you read that. So in the transition from 2 to 3, the essential issue is when the internal pressure inside your system actually changes. So the movement to 3 o'clock could begin anywhere as you're coming up to 12. So it doesn't have to be right at 12. Bruce suggests it's much more like jazz. It depends upon what's going on with the other performers. The other performers, of course, being what's happening inside your body. It's not just a mathematical formula. That's why Qigong is a living art. It's not a dead art. So what this is saying is that that transition, which we have kind of rigidly made happen from here, doesn't necessarily have to happen there. So, do the right one, David. So, when you make that connection of the crossed wrists at the Dantian, it could be that you're going right to 3. Or it could be that you're starting up and halfway there you go out to 3. And then continue on in the circle. Or maybe you do go to 12 and then go to 3. So what you have to feel is where that changeover point is. Where does the energy change? And so this is something that you have to feel. So what I'm going to suggest is, what I'd like for you to do is to have a couple of things, but do this first. Do a couple of reps of 2. And then as you're going to 3, see if you can feel when the energy changes, when it feels right to go to 3.
Okay.
Don't just do it at 12. Okay. So that actually looked pretty comfortable.
Well, it did. It was a lot more comfortable than going up to 12 somehow. Because I'm in a expanding mode here, and then you want to go back down a little to, it seemed good to keep expanding, and
Uh-huh. That's fine.
yeah.
So really take your time to really feel that and play with it a little. As with all of these things, it's good to try several possibilities, and it may help clarify, where the changeover point really is.
And I did that heel thing on the weighted foot.
Oh yeah.
That was it felt, I guess, natural. That was the term. It felt comfortable. It felt like where it wanted to be rather than
Oh,
forcing
good.
something. Yeah.
Good. So I realized that in not going through the too much and too little, that there's a little exercise, and I'll just mention it verbally so that what I'd like is that for the next week that all of you, not just Bill, um, have a piece of paper around that you keep track of this, and 2 or 3 times a day just pause and evaluate whether you're doing too much or too little of whatever it is you're doing, and write down what that is. And this is not that there's any absolute right or wrong, but rather it's an exercise in helping you be aware of whether you are being appropriate about the balance of too much or too little in everything you do in your life. But read the notes. They'll be short, and it'll lead you into doing that.
Good.
And next week is the beginning of a new session, and I think that's all I got today.
Okay. So I do have one question related to the too much and too little.
Sure, go right ahead.
In 2, until a couple of weeks ago, I've been fairly upright, even when, and feeling like I should be, folding and squatting a lot lower to get to 70% than I have been. And I don't know, it's just because watching other people in the class do it or what, but how, if I'm comfortable going a lot lower in 2, that feels more comfortable now. I've been doing that more.
That's fine. What the I think the thing that determines what you do in 2 is if you do it going a lot lower, do you still have the energy to fully do all the rest of the movements? Because sometimes making 2 too big will wear you out. So, but there is, so that's really what's right for you. And it's of course always that day and that time. I mean, oh gosh, my mind is blanking here on his name, but one of Bruce's senior students from England, when he does 2, because I've watched him do this. He does this for each one, cleared out. On the other hand, there have been days when my back has been bothering me, and I'm doing 2 and it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just depends what's appropriate for you for that day. And I did find that for me, that trying to make it too big um, meant that I didn't have full energy for the rest of what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that was, I think that's again, it's something you sort of have to play with and find what works right for you.
Yeah, I feel like for when I have done it, and I haven't done it a whole lot, when I have been doing it recently this week, it feels like I get more energy moving fat more quickly, and then it makes the more condensed, uh, 5 and 6 feels more energetic
Hmm.
because there's been more, maybe because there's been more happening earlier
Yeah,
for me, but I don't know. But
could very well be. I think, it sounds like you needed to make two bigger than you were. So, good.
and when it's bigger, it seems easier to really get the breath moving. So, there have been times when I'm practicing and I've realized that I stopped breathing altogether. you know, I'm holding my breath, thinking about, but which is bizarre. But
Yeah, a little, but well, good,
okay,
good.
well,
Well, I think this was a good session for you anyway.
it is a real good session for me. Yeah, 'cause, some of these little questions I probably wouldn't ask with everybody. Uh,
You shouldn't hesitate. Um, but I'm sure all of the things we talked about will be helpful for other people as well. So it's all good.
Indeed.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you, David, and I hope you have a good rest of the day. So does this mean your woo isn't happening today?
No, that was yesterday.
Oh, that was yesterday. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I have usually have some woo on Monday and Tuesdays, but and tomorrow is yang.
Tomorrow is yang. What, the long yang?
The long yang. Yes, I have a private student on Thursday mornings. Actually, she's been a private student for over 5 years now, and he's still working on the yang long form. He wants to really work on that. So
Mhm. Good,
yeah,
good.
it is good. We'll say hi to Madeline.
I will, and hello to Jane. Things,
Thanks, I will.
yeah. What is your current pet situation? Do you
Two
have
cats.
two cats? Okay.
Yeah, uh, we've had these two cats for 12 or 13 years.
Hmm.
They're a brother and sister, and occasionally at the beginning of the recording, you'll see Tashi because he'll jump on my lap, but he then disappears, and Callie never appears to anyone except Jane and me. Nobody
No,
else believes we have two
the
cats.
secret cat.
Secret cat. She's a real scaredy cat.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we just have the two cats. We keep talking about getting probably a rescue. We really, I think, pretty well determined that we should not try to do a puppy. That we're too old for a puppy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but we do miss Curry's energy.
Oh, yes, I know you do. Yeah.
So yeah, a dog might appear one day.
Okay. Stay tuned, right?
Yeah, stay tuned. That's exactly right.
Well, thank you. This has been special for me, David. I appreciate it.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. That's great. It's really nice. I'm awfully glad you're doing this, Bill, because I'm well missed your energy here. So it's nice to have you on board again.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I wish that I had the scheduling time for some woo, which I do still do every now and then.
Ah,
You don't have a new DVD of your woo, do you? From
no.
no, but I use that occasionally, and then I have my woo version, which is a
Well,
has
because you're have can link into my YouTube site. There is a uh, Woo 30 posture class that's been going on for quite a while, and there's a lot of um, videos on that,
oh,
which you should, I think, be able to access.
okay.
So,
I'll shop around.
yeah,
That's
yeah, you
okay.
should
Yeah.
look around. There's also um, really good Eight Gates class that's been going on, guys. Where are we? Maybe we're in our third year. We're really
No,
beginning to go into some deep work on that.
no, really. Wow. Yeah, I still enjoy that and Dragon and Tiger. I do, which I don't do real often, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, Dragon and
the
Tiger
eight
is,
gates.
yep. Dragon and Tiger, we ought to do at least once or twice a week.
Hmm.
Be a good idea. But yeah, no, I think that you can get into the other videos on there if you're interested.
Okay. Good.
It's not the long form, but it is. I do like that short form.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be probably good for me because I've abbreviated the long form, and I never was good at the spinning, slapping, kick thing, and
Well, that's still there.
yeah.
The short
Okay.
form.
Well, good. It should be.
Yeah. I now really I'm really hooked on the woo style. It's wonderful. Um, and now that we've been doing it this long, I feel like I have really made some progress with it.
Hmm.
So yeah, I love the woo.
That was true 7 years ago when I took my last Woo class with you. That was only intensified, it sounds like.
Oh yeah. Yes, it has. And more detailed.
I'm sure.
Well, good. Well, have a good day, Bill.
You also, David. Take care.
Okay. Bye bye.